Hi guys, welcome back to Geeks Wargaming and welcome to our latest bolt action battle report. We had so much fun the first time we did this. We've come back for a second game of this. So we are still using the Band of Brothers miniatures. So 4 units aside, something like that. But this time I'm going to be in charge of the Germans.
And I'm going to be the Americans this time.
Yeah, so in the first game the Americans won and I was in command of them. So it's John's turn to give the Americans a go and my turn to see what the Germans are like and see how we feel about that. So the mission that we're doing today is key positions, which is out of the bolt action rulebook. And basically there are D3 plus 2 objectives. And I've already rolled, and I rolled a 1.
One of those nights already.
It could be one of those evenings. So we've got 3 objectives, which kind of works nicely because, you know, not many units aside. It's a bit more of a advanced force moving forward, quite small. So we've got 3 objectives, 6 turns, possibility of a 7th on a dice roll. Whoever's holding the most objectives at the end of the game wins. Now, the first time we played bolt action, we got a couple of rules wrong. We touched on that in the post-game review. Long distance was one of them, so +1 if you're over half range. And pin markers as well. We were minusing 1 off to hit for a pin marker rather than having to pass the leadership to see if they did the action. So we're going to rectify all those mistakes this time and hopefully it'll be a seamless and smooth and error-free battle report.
That's a big statement, mate.
Probably not, and we probably will have to caveat some of that towards the end. But you know what? We had great fun. We are adding to the Germans and the Americans at the moment. There's a Panzer, there's a Sherman, there's some Waffen SS, there's some more US Airborne being painted up by Robin very slowly. And so, yeah, they will come onto the channel as well. And we've added some scenery for the board as well. So let's go take a look at the armies. So for the Germans, we have an officer and a second soldier with a rifle. Basically, these guys are here to lead the German forces against the Americans today. And quite interestingly, nothing will start on the battlefield. Everything will be coming on from reserve from the back of our deployment edge. Into standard ordinary troops, I've got 2 squads here made up of 5 Germans apiece. In here there are some submachine guns, MG42 light machine gun as well. And this guy here is actually modelled with a Panzerfaust, but I'm actually going to take him with an MG42. So if you see him, he's got a machine gun and not that Panzerfaust. And then finally, we're moving on to the Hanomag half-track anti-tank gun vehicle that the Germans have. Looking forward to testing these out. John used them last time and they were quite devastating. So it's going to be good fun to get my hands on these.
Okay, so here's the Americans, and at the back there we've got my HQ kind of squad, I guess, with a second lieutenant with an SMG and a couple of attendants. One's got an SMG as well and the other one's got a rifle. And then next to them we've got a bit of heavy weaponry here. We've got a Browning 30 cal and the ammunition attendant there as well. And we've got a third man there as a spotter in that machine gun team as well. And then we've got 2 squads which are pretty much the same. They've both got 3 men armed with submachine guns. We've got 1 Browning automatic and 5 carrying rifles. One of the NCOs has got an SMG and the other NCO has got a carbine, which is treated as a rifle but just modelled slightly differently. So there you go. Those are the Americans.
Welcome to France. During the height of the Second World War, the Americans are on their advance through on the push up to Germany. A little bit of continuation from our very first bolt action battle report. They've now moved up to the ruins of a hamlet surrounded by fields and trees and hilltops. Tank traps in place, ready to stop any heavy tanks moving down some of these roads. Deployment markers are down. We have 1 just here by the ruins of the wall, 1 in the ruined farmhouse, and we also have 1 up on the first floor of the other ruined farmhouse here. So we've rolled for deployment sides. This side is the Germans and the opposite side is the Americans. There are no units on the board at the start of this game. We've also rolled to see who will take that first dice out of the bag, and it is me for the Germans. So let's see what coloured dice we take out of this little bag. It's an allied dice.
I've elected to bring on one of the 10-men squads, and one of the conditions of entering the battlefield is they need to advance or run. And given that there's nothing else on the battlefield at the moment, I've given these guys the order to run, and they've taken up position on that objective and surrounding that building. So that's my first movement done. And then we'll go back to the dice bag and I'll have a look. It's my turn to pull out and we'll see what we get. So let's have a little peek. And what have we got? We've got a German die. So that's going to be over to Rich.
So I decided to bring the Hanomag on. I've also given it the run move. So it's gone 18 inches up the battlefield to try and scare Jon a little bit. I was going to bring it on as an advance and try and shoot. But because these guys are inside that building, which is counting as hard cover, and it'd be a -1 because I'd moved, and over half range, I wouldn't be able to hit them. So, yeah, let's not do that. So I've changed the tactics. We've gone with the run move. He's up 18 inches on the battlefield. He's going to be laying me down lots and lots of cover in fire, so the rest of the German troops can advance up to the objective. And with that, it's time to take another dice out of the bag. Who would it be? Germans or Americans? Let's have a look. It's another American dice.
So my next unit is going to be the machine gun team. What I want to do with those guys, of course, is get behind the Hanomag and aim for its rear armour. So we're going to use this little farm building down here as a moving bit of cover to make our way down the board. But that's as far as we can go with the run order. So that's the 12 inches off the back of the battlefield up to that first wall. Gives me a nice bit of cover for this turn. And of course the next job is to go back to the dice bag and have a look inside here, see what we've got, and we've got one of my own dice. So I'll be bringing another unit straight on. So the next unit I've brought on is the other 10-man squad, and same tactic essentially. These guys are looking to hold that objective that's just on the opposite side of the wall there, but for now we're going to use that wall as a nice piece of cover. So that's my 12-inch run move done. And with that move complete, then it's back to the dice bag. Rich's turn to extract the dice from there. What we got? Oh, another one of mine.
Brilliant.
So that'll be the HQ choice then. So that dice coming out the bag means that I've brought on my second lieutenant and his attendants. Now, in his rules, he can normally issue an extra order, but there's a bit of confusion here because in the rules it says that you must get the extra order dice out of the bag, and the bag is already empty of allied dice. So I don't think that means he can't use that bonus this turn, but I'm interested to see what you guys think. Have we interpreted that rule correctly? If you could let us know in the comments, that would be fantastic. But I'm going to make the assumption that because I can't get an allied dice out, that I can't issue any orders to any more units this turn. And I would now say that we go back to the dice bag, but of course we already know that there are only German dice in there, so we're going to go straight over to Rich to use his 4 orders.
With only German dice left in the bag, it made it nice and easy. Everything is now on to the battlefield. Second Lieutenant and his veteran, they were given a run command and have followed up behind the half track. The first of my troops have also ran as well, heading up towards that objective. And finally, I've advanced these guys. They've only moved their 6 inches on, but the LMG is a 36-inch range. That machine gun team are 33 inches out. So it's -1 because I've moved. It's -1 because I'm over long range. So I need 5s to hit these guys, but I've got 4 dice. So let's give this a go. And I get no hits. It's very, very cautious here on this battlefield. At the end of turn 1, there are no dice left in that bag. The Americans pushing onto the battlefield. 1 unit nicely hunkered down on the objective in the farmhouse. The others seeking cover behind the walls. A little bit more aggressive from the Germans with the half track and the 2 units heading up, trying some shots off. Really, that was the first bit of fire that rang around this battlefield. I get the impression that turn 2, it's going to get a lot worse. So at the start of turn 2, it's Jonathan's turn to pull a dice out of that bag. Come on, John. What colour do we get?
What am I?
It's Allied.
So, rightly or wrongly, I'm going to use that run order to move the machine gun squad up into the corner of this building. Now, I'm well aware that means they can't shoot this turn, but that is quite a tasty position to be looking at that half track in due course. So, that's my first dice roll done, and now it's over to Rich to take a dice out of the bag.
It's a German. So with the new German order dice, I have given a fire command to my half track. It's light anti-tank weapon trained on that machine gun team that are setting up on that wall. Now I haven't moved, so that's no modifier, but they are in hard cover because they're behind that wall. So it's going to be a -2 to hit, which means I'm going to need a 5, which I don't get. I only get a 3. So that shot misses. So over to John then to pick the new dice out of the bag. What we got, John?
What do we got? One of yours.
German. Second order dice out of the bag. Now, if I'd have done this properly and thought about this, being new to bolt action, and I suppose it is worth pointing out, what I should have really done is with my first dice is put it onto my second lieutenant, who then could have moved forward and advanced. But before he did that, he could have pulled a dice out and given a fire order to my tank, so I would have fired with both units. But I didn't do it, and I slightly messed up, so noted for next turn. So what I have done is I've given the advanced dice to the first of my tactical squads, who now are within shooting range of this unit down here. So the guy with the Panzerfaust, who was not carrying a Panzerfaust, who's carrying a LMG, is going to shoot first. So 4 dice, not over half distance, but I have moved, so that's -1, and they are behind hard cover, so that's -2. So I am going to need 6s to hit. So what I want to see on these dice is the Geeks logo. And I don't see any Geeks logo there. So I'm now going to shoot with the assault rifles, and there's 3 of them in here. So again, I'm going to need 6s because I'm moving in hard cover. So 6s. Oh, I get 1. I've got 1 hit. So because we're counting all troops on this battlefield as regulars, I'm going to need a 4+ to wound, which I do with a 5. So with that hit, there's a pin marker down, and with that wound, the spotter has gone. So I'm now going to shoot with the SMG, which is down there in the doorway. Now, his range is only 12, and so half range is 6, and I'm over that. So +1. +1 for moving, +2 for hard cover. So I need a 7, but obviously 6s are automatic hits in this game. So I need to see 6s on these 2 dice, which I don't get. First casualties scored. 1 American down. Time to pull another dice out of that bag. Who am I going to pull out? It's an Allied.
With that dice, what I'm going to do is issue an advance order for my 10-man squad. So they've hopped over the wall, they're making their way towards the farm building, and I'm going to shoot at that German squad who's just taken out one of these guys' buddies in the machine gun squad. So I'm going to start with the Browning. Now that wouldn't normally need a 3, but I moved, so that makes it 4, and then my target's in cover as well, so that makes it a 6 to hit, and it's got 2 shots. So here we go with our 2 shots, and no 6s. So next up to shoot, we've got the rifles, and there's 5 rifles in that squad, and they've got a range of 24 normally, so again there's a modifier there of -1, plus the fact they moved is -2, plus the fact the target is in cover means it's -4, so I'm going to be using the 9 impossible rule, and I'm hoping for some 6s here to hit. And I've got at least 1, yeah, just the 1, okay. Then I'm looking to wound, and I need to be wounding on a 4. And there's 1 wound, so there's 1 casualty taken there on the German side. When it comes to the submachine guns, they are 12-inch range, and they're still actually just out of range, unfortunately. So that is as much shooting as that squad can do. But still, 1 pin marker dropped and 1 casualty taken is a pretty good turn.
So it's now John's turn to pick a dice out. Go on, John. Nice grey one, please. Would be lovely. Yay, thank you. So the German dice has been put down next to the other 5-man squad, moving them up. I'm going to shoot at the machine gun nest that is starting to pop up in that wall. I'm going to try and take them out. So first gun to shoot will be the LMG. I've moved, they're in hard cover. So I'm going to need 6s, 4 dice. And I get no 6s. I've also got 3 normal rifles, but again, I'm going to need 6s because they're over half range as well. Any 6s? No 6s. All those shots bounce off. That wall is proving to be quite a good piece of cover. So it is my turn now to pick a dice out. There's only 1 grey and 2 green. Who do we get? I get the other German dice. So the advanced dice I've taken out of the bag and I've given it to my second lieutenant and his veteran. The veteran has a rifle and the second lieutenant is modelled with an SMG. So the veteran is going to shoot first. I'm going to need 6s to hit because 3s normally, -1 for moving, -2 for hard cover. 6s with the rifle, which I don't get. And then the SMG is 2 shots. And again, I'm going to need 6s on these, which I don't get.
With only American dice left in the bag, we're going to forego the delving into the bag, and I've used one of those dice to get these guys to run. The reason I've done that is I wanted to move these guys up onto the top floor up here, so in order to move between floors in a building, then you need to use the run order, so that's what these guys have done. And then down here, I've also used a run order on my lieutenant and his attendants, to run up into the farm building just here so that he can lend his morale bonus on to my beleaguered machine gun squad, and of course it puts him in a nice slot to be shooting away next turn. But that is the conclusion of this turn, and then all the dice are going to go back in the bag and we're going to go round again.
So at the end of turn 2, it's still quite quiet across this battlefield. The Americans hunkering down and so are the Germans. Objectives being taken by the Americans 2-1 at the moment. But casualties starting being taken, 1 on each side. The odd pot shot being taken, bouncing and ricocheting off those walls and off the hard cover. Let's head into turn 3. It's John's turn to take a dice out of the bag. At the start of this turn, who does he pick out? He picks out an American.
With that green dice, I'm going to issue an order to my lieutenant and his attendants to fire. And because he's an officer, I've also got an extra order which I've pulled out of the bag, which I'm going to issue on to my machine gun squad. I've just popped the 2 dice down there as a reminder that they're going to need to check their morale in order to execute on that order. But what we do is, according to the rules, we follow the order sequence through. So we're going to start off with the command squad. So I'm going to start out with the 2 SMGs in that squad, and they're going to fire at the German command squad just down here. So these guys are hitting on 3s, and there's a -1 modifier because it's over half their range, and there's a -2 modifier because they're behind hard cover. The target is behind hard cover. So that means I'm going to need 6s to hit. So let's see what we get. And no Geeks logos mean no 6s. So the rifle is left, and that's going to be hitting on 5s because it's over half the range, but it's still obviously got a target in cover. So I need 5s, and I get a 3. So that's not a hit there either. So the next thing to do is look at the machine gun squad, and they need to pass their morale. And because they're close to the officer down here, then they get +1 to the roll, and they're going to -1 because they've got 1 pin marker on there. So let's see if they get their morale passed.
Is 9.
That's right.
So they need to roll under 9.
That's right. And I've got 9, so that's fine. That's a pass. So they're going to be issuing that fire order, and I'm going to get them to fire at the Hanomag. So with a passed morale check, the pin marker is also removed. These guys have got 5 shots, and I'm targeting the Hanomag, which is behind hard cover. So I'm going to need 5s in order to hit that vehicle. So let's see how we get on. What have we got there? We've got a 5, a 5, and a 6. So we've got 3 hits there to resolve. So the way this works is the medium machine gun has +1 to its damage, and the Hanomag needs a 7 to wound. Now, because I'm hitting on the side, that's +1 to my roll as well. So ultimately that shakes out as I need 5s in order to cause wounds on that vehicle. So let's see how we get on. And we've got 1 successful wound on there. So I needed a 5 to cause damage, and I got a 6. So that's not superficial damage. So I'm going to roll a d6 on the chart. And we're going to see what we get. If we get a 4, which makes that vehicle knocked out, so it's destroyed and it becomes a wreck. So that is the half track taken out, which is a pretty nice result, actually.
So it's my turn now to pull a dice out of the little bag. What do we get? We get a German dice. So what I've decided to do is we're going to have a little bit of HQ on HQ action. These guys are going to shoot down at Jon's command squad here. So rifle first. I haven't moved, so I don't get the -1, but obviously it's -2 for being behind hard cover. So I'm hitting on 5s. So rifle first, no. And then the SMG. Now this is over half range, so now I need the 6s. No 6s at all. And then we move over to the second order dice, which is a fire command put on the 5-man squad, well, 4-man squad now. And they're going to fire down at that machine gun nest behind that wall because I need that machine gun gone, really. So first off, that 5-man squad have to pass a morale check. Normally they are a 9, but they're -1 because of their pin marker, so that becomes 8. But the first lieutenant passes on a +2 morale, so they actually become leadership 10. So on 2 dice, I need 10 or less, which I do, so they pass that order nicely. SMG will be shooting first. I'm going to be hitting on 5s because of the 2 for hard cover. Hitting on 5s, I've got 1 hit, means I need to now wound on a 4+, which I don't wound. It bounces off the wall. Next to shoot will be the 2 rifles, again hitting on 5s. I get 1 hit, wounding on 4s. No wound again. Finally, it's the SMG to shoot. He's over half range, so I'm going to need 6s with this guy. And I don't get any. So once again, that hard cover is proving to be vital for the Americans. It's Jon's turn to pick a dice out. Go on then, Jon. What do we get? It's the last German dice. So the final dice has gone on to the last 5-man squad for the Germans, giving them an advance order, shooting down at that machine gun nest. First gun will be the SMG, 4 dice. Need 6s to hit. Oh, no 6s. So the last of the order dice has gone down onto the other 5-man German squad. We're going to be shooting down at that machine gun nest as well. So first one to shoot will be the LMG, 4 dice. I'm going to be hitting on 6s. I get 1 6. That's good. Again, I need 4s to wound. He gets a wound. Excellent news. So I put the command dice next to the second lieutenant. Slightly annoying because the plan was to take a dice out for the half track and a dice out for that squad down there. So I can only really influence that other squad. So they've both been given fire orders, but we'll head over to the lieutenant first. Okay. The 1 SMG in that squad's now going to shoot. No hits. And then the remaining 3 rifles. I get 1 hit. Do I manage to get a wound? Yes, I do. There is a wound on that unit, the machine gun. There's 1 guy left. That'll be that squad dead. Another brutal round. Germans falling left, right and centre. But the first of the American squads, that heavy machine gun, pulled down. No more a threat to the Germans. It's 1-1 at the moment on objectives because these guys hold 1. This one is free. And that one inside the farmhouse being held by the Germans as well. It is Jon's turn to pick a dice out. He picks a green dice out.
So I'm going to take that dice and issue it to my lieutenant and his squad to fire. And then I'm going to use the extra order to push on to the squad in front of them. So starting out with the officer and his attendants, we've got 2x submachine guns, which are 12-inch in range, and we're out of the half-range distance, so -1 for that. I'm going to target the German officer, and he's behind hard cover, so that's a -2. So that's a -3 in total, so I'm looking at 6s to hit those guys, or hit that guy. So we've got 1 hit there. Now there is no modifier, so it's a 4 upwards to wound, and no wound scored, but that will drop a pin on him. And then we've got 1 rifle in that squad, which is going to need a 5 to hit. We get a 6, so that is a hit. And again, 4 to wound. And that is a wound. So that's him taken off. So that's a German squad, and most importantly, I guess, the officer taken out. So next, that order that I've passed on, we need to check the morale. There's a one single pin marker on there, so that's a -1. Then we've got a +1 from the officer, so we're looking at 9 or under. And this time we pass, so I can take that pin marker off, and those guys will be firing. So that squad is going to fire on these guys that have just appeared around the building. We're going to start with Browning, which is inside half range. So no modifier for moving, no modifier for long range, but -2 because the target is inside hard cover. So what we're looking at here is a 5. And we get 1 hit. There is no modifier on that weapon at all, so we're looking at a 4. And we get that, so there's 1 wound and a pin dropped on that squad. So next up to shoot, we've got 3 submachine guns from the squad plus the NCO. 2 shots apiece on that squad, but they are over half range, so we're looking at 6s. And we get 1, 2, 3 6s there, so 3 hits. Okay, no modifier on that shot at all, so it's 4s to wound, and we've got 2 wounds scored. With that squad, we've got 4 rifles left to finish up, and they're 24-inch range. They're inside half range, so no modifier there, but -2 because of the hard cover. So we're looking at 5s. And what have we got? We got 1 hit there, and we're looking at 4s to wound, no wound. Now it's Rich's turn to go mooching in the bag. The odds are in his favour at this point. But even so, it's still mine. The last squad down here to receive their order is in the building, and they have a fire order. This is going to be real quick, though, because with the demise of the German commander, then there's only the squad left in the building there, and that's out of range of almost all the weapons. The only thing that is in range is the automatic rifle, so I'm going to fire that. There's 2 shots, and I'm looking at 6s to hit because of the range and because of the cover. So let's see if we score a hit. We don't, so that is over to Rich in that case for his last 2 dice.
So we pull my 2 dice out, and I've given both of them fire commands to these 2 units. So first off, I need to pass leadership. They're -1, my lieutenant's dead, so I need to get 8 or less on 2 dice. So that squad, this squad here have rallied. Next squad have rallied as well, so we're free to fire. So first to shoot will be the machine gun that is not a Panzerfaust, and shooting over at that squad there. So again, I am going to need 5s because of the -2 for the hard cover. I get 1, 4 up to wound. There's a wound taken in there and a pin marker put on. And also there is an SMG, 12-inch range, so I'm going to be hitting on 6s with this guy. No hits. And then the second squad, which is basically the same loadout. So the machine gun. Oh, we got 2 hits. So 2 4-ups. 1 more casualty in that squad. So that's it. That is it. The other guy's a loader that's in that squad. I forgot about that. So that's it for the Germans. Another brutal round. The Germans really being thinned out now, pushed back by these advancing Americans. Still 1 objective each at the moment. John's going to have to fall back to get that one, which I'm sure he probably will in his turn. But let's head back over to the dice bag. It's my turn to pick again. So I pick out a German. So I've put the fire dice back on the guys inside the farmhouse, shooting at the guys inside that wall complex. Machine gun, again, hitting on 5s. Yep. Edit out the burp. Okay. Me going up. I get 2 hits. So 4-ups to wound. No wounds. And then the SMG, 6s to hit with this guy. We get 1 hit. 4s to wound. No wound again. Seriously, these walls are literally soaking up the bullets for these Germans. John's turn to pick a dice. Grey or green, John? It is green.
I issued the run order to my commander and his attendants, but before they ran off out of that building to go and hunker down on that objective as we get towards the end of the game, they did just yell an order to fire for that squad that's left, although clearly that's not a guarantee because they are pinned. So they're going to go and check their morale now, and we'll see if they can actually take part. So there is one pin marker on that squad, and the lieutenant is now not within the leadership bubble required. So I'm looking at 8 or less, and I get 8. So those guys will be shooting, and they're going to target the squad that's just down here with their weapons. So first up, we're going to fire the Browning into that squad there. That's 2 shots at less than half distance, means we're hitting on 5s, and we get 1 hit. And what we'll do next is just check to see if that becomes a wound, which it does. So there's 1 casualty out of that squad. Good start. Then next up, we've got 4 submachine guns, 3 from the squad and 1 from the NCO. So we're looking at 5s in order to hit. And we've got 1, 2, 5. So we've got 2 hits there. We're going to need 4s to cause a wound. No wounds. And finally, we've got 1 guy left with a rifle, so he's going to be needing 5s as well. He's 1 shot and he misses. So that's all the shooting from that squad done. So it's Rich's turn to go delving in the bag. It's a 50-50 if I remember correctly, and it's mine. Oh dear, oh dear. So I'm going to use that on, well, I only got 1 squad left, so those guys are going to get a fire order. And the only thing that's in range, as we established last time, is the Browning automatic rifle. So we're going to fire that one, and we need a 6 to hit, and no 6s. So nothing done from that squad at all. And then we go straight over to Rich with his dice.
So the last German dice has gone on to my 1 remaining man from that 5-man squad. He has got 2 pin markers on him, so it's going to be -2 to his leadership. So he fails. No, he doesn't. He passes. So he passes with a 7, even with a -2. So that's all good. One thing I did forget last turn, a pin marker is -1, so he'd needed 6s to hit. So we need 6s to hit this turn. And I drop a dice on the floor, so let's re-roll that one. No hits from that guy. It is brutal. 3 German men left standing. Americans obviously pull back for that second objective, and the guys in the ruined farmhouse just holding on to that objective all game. It is my turn to take a dice out, and it's green. It's over to the Americans. Can they wipe out another of the German squads?
So that's left me with a little bit of a quandary. I think if I've done this right, then I've got the game in the bag anyway, but it's a question of can I remove the Germans from that objective over there and cause extra humiliation, I guess. But what I've decided to do is issue the fire order onto my command squad. Logic behind that is they are going to fire, only the rifle is the only thing in range at that guy there. On the off chance they kill him, and that leaves us then with options for the other 2 squads that we've got left. So we're going to try that one out. So we've got 1 shot from the rifle. It is clearly over half range. It's only just in range, in fact. So I'm looking at 6 if I'm going to hit, which it doesn't. Or pretty close though, but no hit there. And then we go back to the bag, and I pull out the German dice.
So the fire dice has gone down on the unit in the farmhouse, shooting the closest target, really. So machine gun first. I'm going to need 5s to hit. I get 2 hits. I'm going to need 4s to kill. I get 2 4s. SMG to shoot next. 2 shots, needing 6s. I get 1 hit. 4s to kill. It's only a 3. But 2 dead from that squad. I'll take that. And when we head back over to the bag, my turn to delve into the bag. I pull out a green over to the Americans.
So I'm torn between issuing a fire order here or issuing a fire order down here. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to issue a fire order down here. I hope these guys with their weight of fire are going to take the squad in the building out, and then it should, if it's in range, give my automatic rifle from over here one final shot at taking that guy down as well. So let's see if that all works out. It's all great in theory. First thing I need to do, however, is get these guys to pass their morale. They've got 1 pin on them, so I'm looking at an 8 or less. Well, that's a good start. They've passed their morale, so they can shoot. Start with the Browning in that squad. So there's a -2 modifier, but they're in hard cover. So I'm looking at 5s off those 2 shots. And we've got no hits from that. So next up, we've got the machine guns. They're going to need 6s because of the range. And we get 1 hit out of that. And then I'm going to need a 4 for a wound, which I do get a wound. So that is 1 squad member taken off from that squad. Then it's back to the bag. And Rich's dice.
The final command dice has gone down onto that 1 remaining German just by the wall. He has got a pin marker on him, which is of 1. So I need to pass a leadership of 8. Oh no. Oh no. Let's look at the foobar table. What I need to do now is roll a dice. On 1 or 2, it's friendly fire. On 3 to 6, it's run, or it's panic. So let's roll the dice. It's 1. It's friendly fire. So now we're into the realms of friendly fire. So what does it mean? So this guy has confused his fellow German down here in the farmhouse as an American, because they're within 12 inches of this enemy unit. So John gets to roll. So then, John, fire dice next to him. It's -1 for a pin. So you are hitting me on 4s. -2 because of the hard cover. So that's 6s. 6s to shoot my own guy, which you don't get any. All the bullets hit the walls.
So the last dice has gone down onto the squad in the building here. Only the automatic rifle is in range. So we've got 2 shots. We're hitting on 6s. And we get 1 hit. Can I wipe out 1 more squad? I need a 4 or more. And I do. So that guy there is the final casualty of the game.
So that's it. That's the end of the game. It's a victory for the Americans. It's 2-1 on the objectives, these key objectives on this battlefield. The Germans managed to hold on to this one in the farmhouse. This 1 remaining German unable to be moved by the Americans. And the Americans hold on to that one. And then they've got the untouched squad down here in the farmhouse holding on to the second. So let's head over to the post-game review. Hi guys, welcome to the post-game review. Second game of bolt action on the channel. Great fun. What a game system that really is. It's so much fun to play. Really do love it. Second win for the Americans as well. They're pushing forward through France, now clearing out the hamlets as they go. Different generals in charge of the Americans and 2 wins.
Does that mean the Americans are a better army?
Does it mean they're better? I don't know. I don't think so, because obviously we're still quite new to this. I think the Band of Brothers box set, you get more bodies of the Americans, which means more guns, which means more dice, which means more chances to hit, which means more chances to wound. So because of that, yes, I don't think the half track did it did nothing.
I didn't expect it to die so quickly.
Tonight, no, there was some lucky shooting from the machine gun that you put down onto it. Where when you was in command of the Germans, it did do some damage. It killed a few people and it had to go because it was around at the end of the game and was like really just hurting my troops. Maybe that was to me for leaving it still. I don't know. Maybe not. I'm not sure. So, but like I say, first time using the Germans, they were good fun to use. I enjoyed them. How did you find using the Americans?
Good. It's quite nice to have more bodies, like you said.
Yeah.
It did feel like I'd got a bit more of a horde army as opposed to dealing with just a couple of units. The Germans obviously been quite elite. Yeah. So it's quite nice to have some extra people there. I like the order system. We didn't really use that very effectively last time.
We didn't use it at all last time. So it's the first time we've used the orders from the officers, and I think that works quite well. It's
quite nice to be able to leapfrog your natural order in the listings.
It does, but on the downside, you're taking dice out of the bag, so you're a dice down. So your opponent will have an extra turn. But we were kind of both doing it anyway, up to the point. But
it feels like it's more strategic. I guess I see your point, I suppose,
Yeah.
but I guess what you are definitely doing is if you get another unit to shoot, then it removes the opportunity for the opponent to take some models off first.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And you know, one thing we haven't done yet in bolt action, we haven't got into really close quarters where you're hand to hand.
No, we haven't.
Because apparently that is brutal. And I'd like to try and do that at some point. I didn't have the bodies today. So yeah, we tried one of the missions out of the rulebook. I thought it worked quite nicely. I like the objective-based game. It's kind of what we're used to a little bit as well with our other gaming systems that we play. But yeah, it worked really, really well. I think it was an advantage you having this side of the battlefield. I think because there was two objectives quite close.
Totally agree. Yeah. You should look at the dice roll.
It is, yeah. And you know, I'd have picked to go this side, and then it could have been a win for the Germans because I had to press up the battlefield, trying to get you off objective markers, and you caused me a roadblock by having all those guys behind the hard cover of the wall. And hard cover in this game with that -2. Wow.
Yeah, that's clearly a significant thing.
Yeah, and we've got a couple more of these buildings to do up. So we'll have pretty much a street kind of system laid out at some point, and that's going to be really interesting because there's going to be a lot of hard cover all over the place. And we've also got some mountains that we're going to bring in. So the next battle report will be completely different. Probably no buildings whatsoever and just mountains, which I think will work really nicely for bolt action. But yeah, really good game. Really enjoyed that. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. Please leave us a comment. Have you tried bolt action? What do you think? Is it something you want to try? Please leave us a like. It does really help out the channel. Why not share this around across all social media, because that does help us out as well. And as always, we'll see you on the next one.